So, the Montreal Canadiens, I mean, first off, they just had a really weird game with the Buffalo Sabres. 7-5, so they broke their losing streak. Now, I haven't made a Montreal video in a little bit, and I kind of wanted to touch on the Canadiens a little bit and their play. Now, obviously, listen, if you win 7-5, I don't care what anybody comments in this video. Like, that's not that impressive because you won 7-5. They scored a lot of goals, but, like, I don't know, man. Like, the Canadiens, here's the thing. The league, the NHL is better when Canadian teams are good. So I'm a Leafs fan, but I want the Canadiens to be good. Like, I don't want Canadian teams to be bad. Well, like, look at the Winnipeg Jets, dude. Like, they're legit. Now, we'll see if it keeps up. I hope it does, because I'm always going for the Canadian teams, because when the Canadian teams are good, the NHL is better. You know, but it's just the game where they played the Leafs was lethargic. And they've been in this rebuild for a number of years now. Now, they're always going to have the card to say, hey, we beat you guys in the playoffs, which is like, I mean, that's just facts. I mean, that's just true. They got us there. But it's like, this team is like just lethargic. Like, I don't know about you guys, if Canadiens fans are listening to this, when Josh Anderson went to the point on that one play at the first goal where Connor Timmins, I was like, what is going on there? Like, that was one of the laziest plays I've ever seen. It was a full-on flyby. Like, a full-on flyby. I mean, embarrassing. Really, really embarrassing stuff. And then you have the short-handed goal where Marner was right in front of the net, and I was like, just nobody guarding him. And I was like, Jesus, this team. And I love how they're talking about, like, oh, they need a goalie. I was like, dude, they need somebody to be able to play some defense. You know what I mean? Or not even defense, just have some passion. Because if you have passion, you're going to be able to play defense better. Now, from my perspective, I remember I made a video, and obviously I was wrong about this now. I thought that of the teams in the Atlantic that missed the playoffs, I thought that the Montreal, I didn't say they were going to make the playoffs, but I thought that they were going to be close, you know, because they were surrounding some talent, right? You know, they have Demidov, obviously he's not playing this year, and yes, Line did get injured, which that's certainly going to impact them, but I don't know, man. Like, listen, in my opinion, they should be better than this. You have to play with a level of passion in the NHL, and the one thing that really pisses me off is when teams are playing like this, you'll have a coach, and sometimes they'll blame a coach, and I'm like, dude, it's not the coach's fault. Like, if you have a bunch of grown men, like, I know I was listening to Leafs talk after the game, and I wanted to make a video about this because they were talking about, like, just how bad the Canadiens looked, and they did look horrible, and they were started talking about, like, Martin St. Louis, and I was like, dude, this is not St. Louis' fault. Like, this is just embarrassing stuff in that game. Now, to be fair, I've only watched I think 3 or 4 of their games this year, so I'm not gonna say that I know tons about the Canadiens, but that was just one of the most lethargic and terrible efforts. Now, they beat the Buffalo Sabres, which is nice. You know what I mean? They can still draft and they can still do what they do, which is good. You can still make an argument that the future is bright. And here's the thing. In the NHL, you can rebuild quickly. You know what I mean? Like, you can. If you get the right players. Like, think about it. The Leafs rebuilt in a couple of years because they just absolutely nailed some picks. And, you know, Suzuki's a good player. They got Caulfield, and here's the thing: the jury's a little bit out on Demidov, but I think he's going to be really, really good. I like him a lot. So unless the same thing happens that happened with Mishkov, where Mishkov and with the Flyers is having a bunch of issues with turnovers and stuff like that. But you just got to let players grow into that stuff. Scratching them isn't going to do anything, but alas. And again, I think that the Montreal Canadiens, more than anything, they kind of probably need like a trade. You know what I mean? They need like some kind of trade to really spark the team and give them something that they need. You know, like I talked about the Montreal Canadiens perhaps getting like an Aaron Ekblad. Now, I know he's not a perfect player, but he would be, and again, he's going to be a UFA soon. I think this year he's going to be a UFA if I'm correct. And I don't know, man. I look at him and I think to myself, that's a player that they could get, improve defensively. But at the end of the day, if they just don't play with a level of passion, listen, Craig Berube, when he was coaching the St. Louis Blues, he said to play in the NHL, you just need a level of passion, and if you don't play with that, you're cooked. And he's right. And that's what we're seeing from the Montreal Canadiens. Just ridiculous stuff. But again, the future is still bright-ish. It's just sometimes when you're a bad team, like people think that like this is why I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of just tanking a team, not necessarily rebuilding, but I don't like tanking a team. You know what I mean? Because if you tank a team, you just have the potential to always be bad or to stay bad for a long time. Like you can even see what happened with the Buffalo Sabres. Like they're probably going to miss the playoffs again, I would assume. And they just been bad for years. So you think, well, we're going to just rebuild. And then eventually after 5 years, we'll just be competing for a cup. And it's just not that simple, right? I'm not necessarily a fan of just outright just tanking a team and then rebuilding. I would do what I would call a retool and keep good players. That's the way I like to technically rebuild, but I wouldn't just blow it up. I would keep whatever players are good, get rid of the ones that are bad, keep my picks, draft, and try to just rebuild with a slight retooling. But once you let go of a competitive nature in your team and you just tank out, this is the difficulty that I have. So I know it sounds weird. It's controversial because a lot of people say, well, you're going to have you're going to miss the playoffs anyway, so you might as well just tank out. I think that literally can affect the culture of your team. Like, I really do. And this is why I'm not convinced that that's the best way to go for the Habs. Like, yes, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they should still be competitive, right? They should still go out there and be competitive and try to at least have some self-respect. But anyways, hey, they beat the Sabres today, so we'll see. We'll see if that keeps on going. And hey, maybe they can get lucky and win a bunch of games in a row. You never know. Maybe they get in a hot streak like the Winnipeg Jets did. But anyways, I just want to make a quick video on the Montreal Canadiens. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would appreciate that. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm right. Drop your comments below. And have a great one, guys. Goodbye.